Hello everybody. Today we're going to take a look at a new feature that has been added in OIC B2B, which is the support for fixed length document types. Before we look at the feature, let's understand what a fixed length file is. So here I have a sample fixed length file, which is a plain text file where each individual line is a record and each field within those lines are identified depending on the position and the length of that particular field, which is again defined and agreed upon between the trading partner and the organization. We also see initial three characters which are unique, um, which allows us to identify not only the document but also each individual records within that fixed length file. So here is OIC B2B, and in that, under schemas, we now have a new option to create a fixed length document. So here in scan for characters, we will need to provide the number of characters to search from the sample document in order to identify the different names of the segment. So I'm going to provide number 3 because in our sample file, you can see the initial 3 characters represent the segments of the file. Now I'm going to bring in the sample input file and click create. Once I click create, I'm now brought into the schema editor page. As you can see, there are a bunch of records or segments that have already been created. This was done because we provided the initial scan characters, and you can see that it has identified those and created the segments for us. Now, of course, there are no elements within each of these, and we will need to start creating those. So now in order to create the fields, we can go ahead and manually add them, or we have a new feature called as add child elements, which allows us to add elements in bulk. So all we need to do is provide a comma separated list of the each element's lengths. So for instance, if we have 5 elements to define, then we provide the length for each of them. So the first element is 2, second is 10, the third is 6, and the last one is 35. And we click add. Now you can see that all of them have been created. We can now further edit each of these by clicking into this and change the properties like type or length or whatever that is needed. So similarly, we will add elements for rest of the records as well. For now, I'm not going to do that. I already have a schema that is created. We'll just quickly take a look at that. So here you can see all the different segments with each of the segments having their elements that has been created. And this is how you create the schema for a fixed length file. Once the schema has been created, we now go into documents. We'll show what we have configured for our existing document here. So here in this document, you can see we have used the schema that was created along with a couple of business identifiers from that schema during runtime. To process the fixed length records, we need to provide the identification value. Here we are using BGM, which is the first 3 characters in the incoming payload. So that's what is being specified. And then we have to set the identification start position, which is 1, and the end position, which is 3. And now this will be used during runtime. This is how you set up the schemas documents. Now we will go into trading partners and we'll see how that will be set up. There's not much difference there. So we will go into transports and agreements. Here you can see there's an AS to transport that's configured and an inbound agreement which uses fixed length file that was created just now. And this will be processed with our backend integration called inbound backend fixed length. Now let's quickly look at the execution of. Let's now look at the demo. So here we have a Postman request, which will trigger the inbound agreement, which we just configured. And here is the flat file payload that we'll be sending. So I'm going to click send. So the request has been accepted. Now let's look at what happened on our instance. Let's now go into observability and BDB tracking. Here you can see we have received an AS2 communication from our trading partner Dell Demo, and under payload we can see the flat file that we just sent. If we go into our business messages, you can see that a fixed length order has been successfully transformed, and these are the business identifiers that were surfaced. We also have a failed transaction, and this has failed certain validations which were executed on the schema. So here we have number of element level validations that were executed, which were defined as part of the schema, and these have failed that. So this is how you would set up your fixed length schemas, documents, and use them as part of your trading partner onboarding. Hope you found this useful. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.